I asked you about your confidence in Russell Wilson, sir. Can we take James a single, please, just so the people at home can understand his response? Quite literally zero. James, here's my question today, though. You might be a changed man. You got a good night's sleep around the corner. I think you well rested. Now you may have changed your opinion. Will Russell Wilson get benched this season?
I did change my mind a little bit. Psych. No. Zero, man. Listen, I wish on this big board right here we could kind of show the world and the fans why I'm saying zero. Russell Wilson last year was not the Russell Wilson that we all were used to seeing, right? He wasn't even seeing right things. It looked like at times he was kind of like Sam Darnold seeing ghost, right? It's people on the football field, receivers, tight ends, wide open. He's not making the throws, right? Or it's people wide open and he's trying to get outside the pocket and scramble and all that. Interceptions by Russell. Well, you talk about 4 and 11. I mean, he was ranked 31st in the National Football League in a lot of categories, right? And that is why this stuff is coming out. You go and you get Jarrett Stidham and you give him some nice money. It is obviously not Russell Wilson money, but you give him a lot of money, right, to come be a backup quarterback. That right there is already, hint, hint, you mess up, this kid is going into the game. For me, Russell Wilson is not going to change this season. I don't see him going from scoring 15 points to scoring 30 points in the Sean Payton's offense, all right? So with that being said, it is going to be halfway through this season, and you are going to see Jarrett Stidham enter that ball game. I think Russell Wilson, I'm not saying he plays extremely bad, but he does not play good, right? It is not for Sean Payton. We're trying to have a $200 million quarterback manage a football game. That is not what we're trying to get accomplished. A $230 million quarterback or whatever he's making, you have to win us football games. That is why when you came over here from the Seattle Seahawks, we said, oh, the Denver Broncos is missing the quarterback piece. Russ is there. So you have to win football games. We have a guy behind you, we paying $10 million that can manage a football game. If Russ doesn't deliver and win football games for this team, which I don't think he will, he is going to be benched halfway during this season. I know you're with me because you sit right next to me.
I want to hold out. Well, I'm torn because I do still want to believe, you know, but I don't like giving opinions from what I want to happen. So I'm supposed to say what I think is going to happen. I know, we watched.
We had 16 weeks last year to believe.
Well, luckily for us, about the main premier games ran out about halfway through the season, so we didn't all have to suffer through that together anymore. It's hard to imagine him getting benched. It's hard to imagine him being so bad that they bench him because of all they have invested in him. Now, if it's so cataclysmic, if it's as bad as it was last year, then I can get with you, but I don't think it'll happen until towards the end of the season. I think they're going to give him, I don't know what a short leash is. What's a short leash? Like how big is the dog?
That's long. That's long. Geez.
That's long to me. That's not a short leash. Short leash to me is like the first 4 games.
But I say week 8 just because the bread you're making.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
But to me, a short, and I'm arguing semantics here, I guess, but a short leash to me is like 4 games. So halfway through the season, if you are looking bad, I think it's fair to bench you no matter what you're making, if you're looking as bad as it was last year. So I lean towards he won't be that bad because Sean Payton is there. But then that's my want seeping in again. See,
it's interesting.
It's my want. I don't want to abandon it with Russ yet.
I think he'll be benched. I think he'll be benched. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. Relationships and how relationships begin. How did Russell Wilson's relationship with the Seahawks begin? He took over as a 3rd-round pick, a highly paid quarterback in Matt Flynn. You know Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn, I'm reading articles about the time back in 2012. Matt Flynn stunned by monster contract. Matt Flynn, the most highly coveted free agent. Matt Flynn was acquired by the Seattle Seahawks to be the guy. Now, at the time, $26 million doesn't seem like a lot of money, but go back in quarterback deals 10 years ago, that was a lot of money. Russell Wilson, 3rd-round pick. He wasn't supposed to take over for Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn making $26 million, highly targeted, highly prized free agent quarterback, but Russell Wilson, the 3rd-round pick, outplayed him. And Pete Carroll, now Hall of Fame coach, said, you know what, I'm going with the best player. Relationships and how they begin. Jarrett Stidham, he's not a highly paid guy, 4th-round pick. Jarrett Stidham out of Auburn. Jarrett Stidham transferred from Baylor, but he runs the offense. I do believe that Russell Wilson, though he is getting incredibly highly paid, I think though he is very talented, historically he's proven to be so, I do think he gets benched at some point in time this season.
By October, it's over.
Ooh.
Y'all say 4 games?
Ooh.
We start We start right after Labor Day.
Yeah, it's about
and 1, 2,
September.
3, 4. October, it's over.
You wrote the script already,
We can
bud.
already go ahead and put them in the pro shop, discount those jerseys. It's a wrap. Sean Payton has no tolerance for poor play.
Yeah.
And we've already seen it in the preseason. I know preseason games don't count, but they do matter.
Yeah.
And the performances look like the performances that we've seen from Russell before. And here's what happens. When you get old as a player, you don't like to get hit. Russell's at that point. Russ ain't trying to get hit by anybody. And so when the quarterback is like that, they tend to bail out the cockpit. They get out the way. The ball flies everywhere. Russ isn't about that life. So Jarrett Stidham, get ready. It's going to be his.
So when you say not get hit, Buck, you saying like
Eye level.
with him creating with his
He
legs?
can create.
What?
That athleticism, that's all go. He can't. You see Russ run last year?
Ooh.
He's not trying to lead the pocket. So now here's the thing about Russ, because Russ wanted all this.
Yeah.
Russ wanted to be able to control everything from the pocket, but that's never been his game.
That ain't never been
He's
his
not
game.
a timing and rhythm quarterback. He's a guy that made plays on movement and improvisation. He doesn't have that ability anymore. So there's nothing Sean Payton can do. He can't make it right for him. His game doesn't match that system.
Here's my thought process, though, Joy. It's like Sean Payton. At first, I thought he was brought there to fix Russell Wilson. But I realized today, no, Sean Payton's there to fix the Broncos.
Exactly.
Hopefully you can fix the Broncos by way of fixing Russell Wilson, but Sean Payton is there to fix the Denver Broncos. You fix the Denver Broncos by any means necessary. If it's Russell Wilson, if it's a backup, if it's Jarrett Stidham, if it's somebody you trade for in the middle of the season, Payton was brought there to fix the Broncos, not to fix Russell Wilson. So if Russ is going to impede Payton from fixing the Broncos, Russ will have to get out the way.
100%.
You know how bad Russ is going to have to be for that to happen?
As bad as he was last year.
I mean, look, everyone's very high on Jarrett Stidham. I'm sure he's a wonderful manager of the game, but $10 million and $28 million is a big difference.
No doubt.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, let's not pretend like this isn't a business and there's a big check to write for somebody who's sitting on the bench. If Jarrett Stidham goes out there and throws 2 interceptions in a game, which is entirely possible, and they lose the game, what are we doing here? So I hear it. It sounds like, you know, we all want to believe that everything is about winning. We know that is not true. So I can't get too idealistic about the situation. Like next year, if they decide to move off of him, like, okay, then we eat the money and now it's really about winning, and I can believe that. But for the time being, Sean Payton was brought to fix both this incredibly massive investment that we have at the quarterback position and the Broncos. But when we look at the roster, when we look at the injuries that they've already suffered this season, when we look at the talent that this team has and are honest about it, it's not really a situation that's a plug and play for Russ to have a massive amount of success unless Russ gets back to the point where he was playing before he even left Seattle. So we have to go back a few more years to get back to the point where Russ was really the reason why Seattle was winning on the offensive side of the ball. So this is a big ask for not just Sean Payton, but also for Russ and the Broncos organization as a whole to get to a point where we feel great about everything that's happened. I don't think this is going to be an overnight fix. And I have all the respect in the world for Sean Payton. I've seen him do it with every level of quarterback play. I've seen him transform an organization from an organization that people did not take seriously at all to a premier organization in this league that people still have respect for now that he's not even in the building. So it's hard for me to imagine them just eating $28 million on Russell Wilson, completely abandoning him for Jarrett Stidham, who I'm sure is a wonderful talent and manager of the game. But even at Jarrett Stidham's best, he's gaps and miles away from what Russ is best. So sometimes
It depends on what Russ's best still is.
I don't think
what is not what his still is.
No.
What we've seen Russ be the best at. So what I'm saying is, it's a business. It's a lot of money to eat. $10 million is a lot to pay for a backup. I agree, but $28 million is still a lot more. And if Jarrett goes out and isn't marketably better than Russell Wilson, then how's that all work?
I think we got to go to the fit of things too. I think a lot of people is missing out on this, right?
Yeah.
You got to go to the fit of the quarterback and the head coach. Yeah. Sean Payton's whole career almost, he's had Drew Brees, where Drew Brees is a pocket passer, the ball is coming out, right? And he's standing in the pocket. It's not too much creation. Unless you're going to treat him like Taysom Hill, a couple games he had him running him downhill, which you're not. He wants to run his offense. That's ball coming out quick. That's timing patterns. That's standing in the pocket, delivering the ball. That's not what Russell Wilson does. That's why he had so much success in Seattle, because Pete said, read one ain't there, you get out the pocket and you create. right? And you can make throws on the run. That's not Sean Payton's offense, so I don't even think it's a good fit. I think it's a better fit for Stidham to come in there and be a pocket passer and throw this ball and get the ball out of his hands.
It's interesting. My thought is this, though, because I like the points they're both bringing up to my left side. I don't know that Sean Payton will sink on Russell Wilson's shit. That's why when I think about, like, the money, I think about, remember the Eagles with Carson Wentz when they had drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. I believe Carson Wentz was making, he had a 4-year, $128 million deal. I think there was $18 million that year, not 28, but it was substantial. Remember, 3 years ago, $18 million for inflation. They were like, you know what, Carson? You ain't showing us enough.
That's it.
We still got 2 more years on your contract. We gonna figure it out. Colts, you'll take him? Oh, my God, please, take him off our hands. Colts said, Washington, you'll take him? I'm going to take him off our hands. And they moved on to Jalen Hurts. It's fascinating you bring up, James, the timing of it all. Again, after our conversation yesterday in preparation for this dialogue, I wanted to go back and rewatch Russ, and let me rewatch Stidham. Well, let me just not come on TV and just start talking to talk.
Yeah.
Russ, in the preseason even, tucking and running. In the preseason.
Yeah.
Like, he's not getting the ball out. He's tucking and running. Stidham in the preseason, just the ball's coming out. And I don't mind Russ tucking and running at all if he's 26, 27. But to be tucking and running in the preseason when you pulled a hammy last year, it just worries me because you usually tuck and run because you ain't seeing
To
it.
cut you off real quick, you play linebacker.
Yes, sir.
I play receiver. Don't be running. Get me the ball out. I am open. You know, and that's what you see from his receivers last year, just jumping up and down like, bro, what are you looking at? What are you doing? I'm a receiver.
But
Quit
Sean
tucking
Payton
and running that thing.
Sean Payton isn't going anywhere.
Of course not.
Sean Payton,
No.
if it's a disaster this year, Sean Payton
Russ
isn't
is
going
going
anywhere. So
somewhere.
right, correct.
Yeah,
So to that point, Sean doesn't have to worry about coaching for this year and making sure that there's a massive turnaround this year.
But he's Sean Payton. You know that. Like, you know Sean Payton
I
personally.
know, but
He's not going to be sorry.
He's also
First
not
4
signing the
games for,
checks. It's not
Broncos.
$28 million that's coming out of Sean Payton's account.
Agreed.
This is a business.
But you know, like, I say you know Sean Payton in the sense of, like, we all know Sean Payton, formerly of Fox. He can't be sorry. Some winners innately are just like, I can't.
He is a winner, and he's
Correct.
great at what he does. But he was also brought there to fix a massive investment that the Broncos made and are paying in Russell Wilson. So to me, winning or not, it doesn't have to happen this year. And it ain't gonna happen with Jarrett Stidham in the AFC either. So we can stop acting like that. Like, just relax. Like, we just went down the list of guys that are Super Bowl or bust. We didn't have the Broncos any sniffing.
But you've seen what Sean Payton can do with good quarterback play. I don't care whose name it is.
He also
Teddy
had
Bridgewater.
a whole bunch of other talent there too that the Broncos don't have.
Correct.
And this isn't meant to be an overnight fix for Sean Payton. Sean Payton is going to be there for as long as Sean Payton wants to be there. So because we know that, because he's not coaching for his job in year one, he can implement things over time. All I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if Russ is benched this season. He would have to be very, very astonishingly back-to-back years bad in order for him to do that, and I don't think it happens before week 8.
I just know that we can sit here and talk about Russ, and he's lost weight. He's skinny Russ now. He was chubby Russ last year. It doesn't matter. He doesn't fit the system. And with Sean Payton, you know this. We've all been there when a new coach comes in. Somebody has to be the sacrificial lamb to get everybody.
Yeah.
Russ can be the sacrificial lamb in Denver because if he's not playing well, what Sean Payton can do in the film session, hey, you got to get the ball out.
Yeah.
Because if I can coach him hard, now I get everybody's attention.
James, very quickly before I have to go to break. You did the Raiders play-by-play last year, maybe, something along those lines. Jarrett Stidham, he blew my mind.
Yeah.
He started maybe 2 games last year. It might have just been 1 against my favorite defense in football, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
I think he had like 360 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Went to work.
Lost in overtime, I think something to 37. Put up a lot of points. I was like, it is just fascinating. I'm like, the dude played well. Like that's where I'm just torn, Joy, because I'm like, in 1 game, he played better than Russell Wilson played in 16.
Exactly.
Like in 1.
Yeah.
In 1. Without Sean Payton, he played better against the best defense in football than Russell Wilson did in 16. I'm just like, man, Russ, come on, because I want to see Russ do well. Like, personally, I like Russ. I'm friends with Russ.
But
come on.
I also know the difference between Russell Wilson being out there and Jarrett Stidham being out there. And the difference is...
I don't know the difference anymore.
The difference is $18 million.
I know that difference. And
then the next year after that
he did
is Samo. Is Samo money after that. So it behooves both of these
Yes,
parties
that is true.
to do well. At the end, if Russ isn't, he's going to be gone. We know that because Sean is a made man. And in my opinion, that's what should happen because I have that much respect for Sean Payton and what he's able to do in offenses. But to me, I think it's going to take a lot to get that kind of money on the bench.
But we got to understand, we all can sit here right now and visualize how it looked last year for the Broncos.
I put it behind
The
me.
Boo Birds, all that.
I
the
put
coach,
it in a box, threw it in
I
the
understand
ocean.
that. But you better believe Sean Payton and his organization understands that too. And if we coming out here and our defense holding you to 18 points and we scoring 15 and it's looking this way, you got to sit down. We're not going through a whole nother season like this. And we got a quarterback behind you that could get this stuff done. So, yes, it's very short.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.